And welcome back to the Constitutionals podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Episode 254. God, I hope that's right. I don't know if it is. 254 of the premier podcast, C Plus Comedy. Or what's it called? The Constitutionals. Last week, we had an episode that is 253. This week, 254. Next week, God willing, 255. Welcome in. Just turn 11/11, make a wish. And the story mentions March 11th, so make a wish. Here we are. I don't know what we're talking about. What's been going on? I've just been listening to, in fact, today, Friday, The Weeknd released a new live album of his latest concert series. This one is we recorded at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, City of Angels. It's a great hour and a half album of songs I've heard live. I went to that show. I went to the show when it was here in Atlanta. It was fantastic. I enjoyed my time, and this is just bringing back memories. It's great to hear a live version of songs and how different they can be, and how you can just listen to these songs and hear, different intonations. I love it. It was fantastic. I put it on the Google Home Max over here to my right. Just heard this great bass sound quality. I mean, at least I would call it great. I call it Grace. If you're wondering where Nova is, she's laying on, let's see, when I get home, I take off my sweatshirt from the gym. I get home from the gym, take off my sweatshirt, put it on the chair, it fell off the chair, along with a sweaty towel that I bring my own towels to the gym. And, I know it's weird. I know it's strange. I don't care. And they fell on the ground, and she's been laying on them all morning long. Had to run and get her some cat litter so that I can change her cat litter this weekend. I put a bag in there. I put a litter bag in there, and I put the litter in there so that it's easier for me to change the litter. Just just take it out and put it directly into a trash can, to my trash can. And this is boring. What else is going on? I got a new phone. I got the S23 Ultra. It's got a stylus. If you're watching the video, you'll see me pull out the stylus. It comes built into the phone. The reason I got a new phone was there's two main factors into me getting a new phone when I definitely I did need it. My phone was perfectly fine, with the exception the battery was great, the screen was just fixed, so it was great. I had a new OtterBox on there I got for $5, which is insane. I had to jump on that deal. Everything about it was perfect, with the exception of my storage was running out. I had maybe 20 gigabytes worth of 30 because I just deleted a bunch of stuff, but 30 gigabytes if I really, really pushed it. 30 gigabytes of free memory. And then the cameras. I don't know what was up with my cameras, but if I record, if you saw the last, let's say, 30 news times, which I really hope you don't because they're horrible, but if you watch those, you'll notice the camera is just not good in any of them because the DSLR I use crapped out on me, and the only other camera I have access to was my phone. And now we buy these $1,000 phones, and and the keynotes for iPhones and for Samsungs and for Google and for basically every phone maker is, hey, you can use this to shoot your videos, to shoot your movies. Ridley Scott, I believe, was at the last Samsung Galaxy event where this phone was announced, and they showed him, shooting whatever, some BS movie that he was making, and they're like, I'm using the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and it's the best thing in the world, and it's great. And to shoot, that's not really Scott sounds. I feel so bad because I enjoy his movies, and my biggest problem with those is I don't. If I showed up to a set, and it was a movie with big time actors, and Ridley Scott, and this great director Ridley Scott, and a great script, written by Ava DuVernay. Name a woman of color. Chloe Zhao. And it was something like that, and then we showed up to set, and the camera was an S23 Ultra or an iPhone 14 Pro Max. I would be so pissed. Now the thing is, you can add a lens, like an external lens, onto these phones with like special cases and stuff, and click in like a $10,000 lens. I don't know why I went down. A $20,000 lens, and that is a very possible thing. But if I showed up and there wasn't like a Blackmagic camera or like a Sony or something, I would be so pissed. I would be like, no, you're paying me more because you're crapped out, and you bought a $1,200 phone. Second reason, so the first was a camera. Second reason was because this is my theory. Anyone could have gotten a deal on these phones for half off if you have Google Fi, which I do have. Which is their cell phone service, which uses T-Mobile's and at one point Sprint's, but now it's just T-Mobile. T-Mobile's what's it called? Towers, but you pay Google for the service. So on Google Fi, I got it for $600 as opposed to $1,200 of what it would cost. For Verizon, you could have done the same thing for, just go wherever you go, you trade it. But I didn't have to trade in a phone. I literally just got it for $600. And all I have to do is keep, and it's going to be $600 over the course of a couple of months. That's $600 outright. Let's keep that in mind. I don't have $600 on me, but it's important that I thought I might as well just jump on this deal. Unfortunately, I jumped on it too late, and I got the white, or what they call cream variant, which is a disgusting name. And I've only had black phones my entire life. It's a sexy phone. I mean, of course, I like the S21 Ultra. I thought the S21 Ultra was a nice looking phone, even with that camera chin on the back. Oh shoot! Hold on, the stylus came out. That's what I'll be worrying about for the entirety of me owning this phone. And that's what's been happening with me. So hopefully, I have 2 news times to shoot this week. Hopefully, they will look good. Hopefully, I write them too. Let's get off the stories. This comes from Deadline, written by Jill Goldsmith. AMC branded popcorn to debut at Walmart over weekend. CEO touts authentic taste of real movie theater popcorn at home. I really wanted to talk about this. And I should have saved this for next week because I do have 2 stories that I moved from this week to next week, or in regards to the Oscars. But I think this is an excellent move, a smart move for AMC. They should have done this years ago, is move into the retail space besides gift cards, and besides being able to go on AMCtheaters.com and renting or buying movies at home. Which the thing is, you can buy movies on AMC's app and you can watch movies. You can rent them there and you can watch movies there, but not like movies that are in theaters. I'm talking about stuff that you can get on iTunes, you can get on Google Play, the rest Vudu, the rest Movies Anywhere. Let's keep naming: Microsoft, Amazon, and I think that's it. That's all the Movies Anywhere affiliates or storefronts. But the thing is, who is in this, and now this goes, I'm gonna extend this to Redbox as well. Who is going to the Redbox app? Who's going to AMC Theaters app and thinking, I gotta buy, let's just name it, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I gotta spend $20 to buy it here digitally on an app that cannot connect to any other app. It makes sense to do it on Apple TV. It makes sense to do it on Google Play Movies. It makes sense to do it on Amazon because you can get those literally anywhere. I can go to Xbox. I can go to my phone. I can go to the iPad right in front of me. I can go to the website. But for those other apps, and then also, if I buy a movie like Puss in Boots, it's available thanks to Movies Anywhere and thanks to Vudu. It's available on pretty much every platform that I have digital movies, and I own them, my digital storefronts. It doesn't make sense for someone to, like, who are the people that are, like, obviously it's enough to where they're still supporting it. let's get back to AMC theaters selling their wares inside of physical stores. You can buy their popcorn the microwave version for $4.98 for a 6-pack, $5, and the ready to eat bags for $4 each. This I think AMC popcorn, like if I could get let me turn off the thing. If I can get AMC popcorn, a smell like a I have a wax melter. I have a wax melter that's behind the bike over there. If I could get wax scented AMC popcorn, I made popcorn last night in the air popper, and it was fantastic. But I think there's a magic. There's a magic to AMC's popcorn, and if I ate microwave popcorn, this would definitely be something. I don't make microwave popcorn, baby. That stuff gives you cancer. I make the good kind. I make it on the stove. I put it in a pot. I put the oil. I put 5 kernels. Wait for it to pop. I put the rest of the kernels. I shake it up a little bit. I let it all pop up. And then I finish it up with some oil. Adam Aaron over there at AMC, he's the CEO, posted a short video. Okay, let's mute that. Showing how they package up all of the popcorn inside for whatever they're going to sell. This is not going to get me to go to Walmart and buy it, but I think this is again a good move, and I would love to see more continued press forward for AMC to put things out into the physical realm. I'm blanking on what else they could sell. I mean, they could partner up. I mean, obviously, they already have Coca-Cola as a partner, so I think it would stand to reason that they sell, movie packs at a Walmart or a Target or so. It wouldn't be out of my belief to see a gift basket that has like an AMC movie theaters lovers gift basket, and it comes with a gift card for AMC, or it doesn't have to come with a gift card, but like it's got Coke, it's got a box of popcorn, it's got 2 things of Coke, or 3 things, or however much Coke people buy. I don't know. How much Coke does a cocaine bear get? I have yet to see that movie. I will see it next week. And I'll also see Creed 3 next week. You gotta wait a little bit. I can wait. I don't want to see movies with people just talking in the theater. Yeah, the movies can be back, but I just don't want to do that. Let's move on to Variety. This is written by, this is a person I've never seen before. Naaman Ramachandran. James Bond novels edited to remove racist content. Now we've seen in recent years, a change in the I guess I don't want to say media consciousness, but in the zeitgeist where we're doing a little bit of revisionist history, we're seeing Confederate flags. Well, I'm in the South. I definitely see Confederate flags. There's one in my garage, which I think is. And there's also there's a lot of questionable racist and bigoted things even in my neighborhood of Old Fourth Ward, Atlanta, Georgia, Midtown, where everything is where everybody thinks at least the white people, where they think that everything is fine, and if they put that the we don't have hate here or whatever signs in their yards, that they're fine, and or if they think I'm not a hateful person, but there's a lot of things that happen, and I bumped it up from a little bit to a lot. There's a lot of things that are even in my complex that I go, oh, you're not comfortable with me in here. It's interesting. It's interesting to see like a giant truck with like a Confederate flag in its in the front license plate, or like a sticker, or like or like I know particularly someone in my cluster of apartments, let's say there's like, I don't know, 200 in this building or so more or less, but in my cluster of apartments, how you look up, you have like your phone or your iPad or your computer or whatever, just like you connect it to a Wi-Fi. And when you first set it up, and you see like different Wi-Fi names around you, and some are funny and then some are not, and then there's one that says Trump won. which is insane. Which it was not here 2 years. Well, obviously 2 years ago. So they had to have changed their name to that. Anyway, I reported them to the front office. Any hoosers. And now this is extending over to books. We're seeing what's the Dr. Seuss books being pulled out of print for I mean just for racist things that were printed in them. And yeah, it's history, but that's what history means. It's in the past. Let's get rid of it. I'll admit, when I first saw the editing of James Bond novels, I thought they shouldn't do that, and then immediately I went, oh Ian Fleming, wrote these back in a time period where it was okay to say a little bit of racist things, and they were published in the 50s and the 60s, so it makes sense for us to go back and to edit these. So what things that have been replaced are there are a lot of pejorative terms for black people that he used. What's the movie? Oh God, what is the movie where? Hold on, I love James Bond, and there is a movie that I like particularly. I mean, I like them all. There's I'll say this. Besides the first Casino Royale, which I think I've only seen a couple of seconds of because it's playing on TCM, I really like every James Bond movie. I think it might be that's not You Only Live Twice, Live and Let Die. There's one where it's just like a bunch of black people and he's like saying jive turkey and stuff. And I think it's pretty funny. Is it Thunderball? Is it Connery? Oh, it's the one with Yaphet Kotto. Okay, James Bond, Yaphet Kotto. Okay. I got this. Don't worry. Let's see. James Bond, Yaphet Kotto, Live and Let Die. That's the one. And if you've ever seen that one, it came out in 1973. It's got some things in it that were okay for the time. But now they're changing pejorative text inside of the books. Thunderball, Quantum of Solace, and Goldfinger. They've got things about ethnicities being removed. I mean, they don't add to the story, so it doesn't. No one should be getting mad about this. And it's Ian Fleming Publications. They're the ones who are doing this because they're the ones that print it, and it's a great move for them to do. They say, we at Ian Fleming Publications review the text of the original Bond books and decided our best course of action was to follow. Let me read this in British. Was to follow Ian's lead. We have made changes to Live and Let Die that he himself authorized. So it's the guy who did it, like the guy who created this. His estate is and he authorized these, even though he's long since been dead. This again, smart. I love it. Let's move on. Variety. Elise Schaefer, she's talking about Dan Harmon's Crapopolis renewed for season 3 as series premiere moves to Fox's 2023-2024 lineup. Now, this show is Dan Harmon's new animated show. It's going to be a part of Animation Domination. I think, I don't know, but it is a show. I from what I can gather from the picture, it's about. It takes place in I don't know, medieval times. A centaur, a guy with a fish head, a lady who looks like she might be a goddess of some sort, Greek goddess, and then some type of other person, and other people. Now, what's interesting about this is you read that it was renewed for season 3 ahead of its series premiere. This is something that happens all the time when a company, when a network, when a platform, whomever is putting out a show, when they're interested, particularly for a cartoon, when they're interested in the show and they're really, really backing it, they can renew it, as much as they need to, because animation takes time. And quite often when you see an animated show that comes on television and then it comes back for one season and it comes back the next season, like that fall, so it ends in like May and it comes back that fall, it doesn't take 3 months to make let's say a full season is 21 episodes. It takes a year to make that many episodes, and then some, and even still, they have to keep that up. For an entire season of The Simpsons, I think they're behind. It's like a year and a half in advance, or a year in advance when they're doing these things. And even though something that happens on The Simpsons and Family Guy and Bob's Burgers can be current and can have like a lot of current jokes, the writing part is easy. It's the animation part that is the difficult thing. And so, I know for The Simpsons in particular, and I learned this early on in my fandom, they often, when they animate for words, they often animate, for the sentences that the characters are saying. That's written, that's set in stone. But sometimes if there are points where they can update a joke or throw in an ad lib or something before air, then they animate like a general talking motion. So sometimes the lips don't match up with the words, and I think it's very funny to like watch The Simpsons and see that happen, in real time, and they have a current joke. It's very fun. So for Crapopolis, and when I was at Warner, when I started there, the hype was for a new show called Bat Wheels, which is an animated kids show starring the Batmobile and the other Bat vehicles fighting the villains' vehicles and singing and stuff. And that show was picked up for season 2. And even though that wasn't announced, when they picked up season 1, in the middle of season 1, they were like, "All right, we're making season 2." And then like a year later, it was before the show even premiered, you see on Deadline and Variety, hey, they're making season 2 of Bat Wheels before season 1 comes out. So this is Fox putting their full confidence behind this show. I think that similar things have happened to Housebroken, even though that has been off the air for quite some time. It'll be coming back next year, but it's stupid how long it's been off the air. And Duncanville, I believe it happened with Duncanville, which has now been canceled. That's a fantastic show, and sadly it was canceled. And then what else? Bob's Burgers. It definitely happened with Bob's Burgers because that same thing. They ended in May, and then they came back that September with The Simpsons and Family Guy. It's been a part of the lineup ever since. And now the reason I mention this is because the Fox Broadcasting, the Michael Thorne, the president of scripted programming at Fox Entertainment, said that this could be. He thinks that, and this shows their confidence, that this could be the next Homer Simpson vehicle, the next Peter Griffin vehicle, the next Bob Belcher vehicle. He said that in a different article, which is not in here, and I distinctly remember him saying that. Don't call me a liar. Which I think they have to. Fox is in kind of they're in a rebuilding moment when it comes to their lineup, because they canceled a lot of shows, and now everything that they put on that network on Fox Broadcasting is something that they produce. Brooklyn Nine-Nine was shoveled off because they didn't produce it. They canceled it. They didn't produce it. And then NBC came in and swooped up and picked it up. And now all they have is, reality shows, game shows, and animation domination. And Animal Control, starring Joel McHale. It was fine. I thought the pilot was fine. So I'll keep watching it. I'll watch it. Any half-hour comedy I will give with somebody I like, I will give my time to. Let's see what Fox's Crapopolis, Dan Harmon's Crapopolis, can do. Is there going to be room for this show in animation domination? I don't know, because the only time that they have to air a half-hour cartoon show is not going to be during the week. They've tried that before and they failed at that. So that leads me to believe that this is going to replace The Great North, which I don't think will be canceled, but I do think that they'll have to do some wily airing there. I mean, they already do wily airing with Family Guy and The Simpsons, which is like a show, and Bob's Burgers. A show can go off for 4 weeks at a time and then come back for 1 week and then go off for another 4 weeks because of football or NASCAR, which is stupid to me. Let's move on. This comes from IndieWire, written by Sarah Shachat. Why Michael B. Jordan wanted Creed 3 to fully integrate ASL into his story. If you've seen Creed 2, which I hope you have, it was a fantastic movie. Michael B. Jordan and Tessa Thompson's characters had a child, and the child was deaf. But they were worried about the child just being healthy at all. And now this movie Creed 3 takes place a couple years later, and it looks like they have a tween. I don't know how old children are. And one important aspect of the movie, it seems to be, is that there is ASL. He says that we have English, we have Spanish, we have ASL, and then we have the fighting language we explore in the final fight. I am all for this. This is a great way of showing a differently abled person inside of in a movie that can really put them not on a pedestal, but put them in front of larger audiences. What was that movie on Apple TV Plus that people freaked out over, where there was no people of color in it, and and everybody was like, "This is the best movie in the world. They're deaf." I don't know. Anyway. That's it. Hey, look, I know it sounds ignorant, and that's why I said it, because this is a joke, and this is a comedy show. I haven't said a joke in a while. But there is something to having a movie like that, Apple TV Plus. You know what? I got to find out the movie, because I truly don't know what it is. And now I feel bad for talking about it like that. No, I don't feel bad. I don't really care. Let me find that movie. The this with the people. But there is something. Oh, the problem with Jon Stewart is back. Oh, Jesus, the problem with Jon Stewart's back. Did I ever tell you this is probably an anecdote for that show I do. What's it called? Late Night Lately. But what is that show I do for Late Night Lately? It's called Coda. That movie was called Coda, with the people who were the family that was deaf. I don't know if that was the thing. Guys, I'm recording a podcast. If you listen to LinkedIn Logs, the other podcast I do about me trying to become a LinkedIn influencer, I was recording, and they were working on the floor outside, and they were like grinding all up against this wall, and it was so loud. And not grinding like dancing grinding, but grinding. I don't know, maybe they were dancing too. And now these people just ran by. Any Hoosers, what was I talking about? Probably Jon Stewart's back, but I was asked to write a packet for that show. I didn't get the job, obviously. Maybe I'll tell that story on Late Night Lately today when I record that. Okay, let's get back to this. So having movies like Coda, having a movie like Creed 3, and even this morning, for Peloton, I did a core class with Logan Aldridge, who is missing a limb. He lost it later in his life in a surfing or wakeboard accident, one of those. But having these people in front of an audience that's probably largely consistent of, and I mean that, I know it's a generalization, but largely consistent of people who aren't differently able or aren't used to seeing these versions of people on the big screen, or even on a small screen, or even at all, is so hyper important. Michael B. Jordan was eager to not only represent the father-daughter relationship, but also show some things that that aren't necessarily on screen, but that exist. This is, I love this idea. Continue pushing. This is what I've been saying ever since Frances McDormand stood up at the Oscars, I think in 2018 or 2019, and said these fateful words. She said, "Inclusion rider," and then all the white people stood up and they clapped they did their clapping, but none of them are following through with this inclusion rider business. The only person doing so, or even if they are, they're not. I'm not seeing it as much. The only person that has proven to do so, two people, Ava DuVernay and Michael B. Jordan. And I would say Shonda Rhimes. I want to throw her in there as well. I've like Jim Gaffigan's new movie. I love Jim Gaffigan, great guy, but his new movie I don't think has any person of color in it. And when I see when I see these when I still see these movies coming out and TV shows and they go like, oh, it's it's very, oh, Uzo Aduba's in the movie, great, Hamish Patel's in the movie, why were they not in the trailer anyway? So I'll backtrack on that. But when I see some of these movies and TV shows come out, I just think that, like White Lotus, like, why are we giving that the time of day? And I don't care. I know it's about, white people acting so mean and murdery in different countries, but why are we supporting that when there are other great shows that we could watch? I mean, even look at The Last of Us. Pedro Pascal is the star of that show, and he's I don't know, from somewhere. I don't want to. He's Chilean. He's Chilean, and he's the star of that show, and there's great representation in that show. Even though Craig Mazin is, I don't think a nice person. There's just things I don't know. I don't really care. Bella Ramsey is non-binary. Whew. I couldn't think of the word. I was like, what? Or is it? It's a dash in the middle of non and binary. Yeah, a word. I couldn't think of the word. Anyway, I think it's just important that we have these. I mean, I'm not talking about like make an article about it, because I think just putting an article out about things is still kind of regressive. But just doing it, just do it, and then when people find out, they go, oh, non-binary. Well, I didn't know that. Instead of just making a whole big hubbub about it. So do it, but then don't talk about it. Be humble. This next one comes from The Verge, written by Mia Sato. CNET is doing big layoffs just weeks after AI-generated stories came to light. Now, this is a story I was going to do when it happened. I mean, that second part where they were doing AI-generated stories, but I didn't want to because it was not interesting to me. But now this is interesting. I saw these headlines yesterday, and it really stood out. And I think that I have. I don't think that these two things correlate with one another. I don't think that CNET doing layoffs and the AI-generated stories have anything to do with anything with each other. So here's what happened with the AI stuff. There was an AI-powered SEO story generator type deal that CNET's parent company that they were just sold to, Red Ventures, was using. They were, and I mean, essentially what was happening was they were, this chat GPT thing or this AI generated thing was writing stories based on the information that it was getting from, the sources of the internet, Enet, and the CNET staff, and then they would label it, under a writer's name, and then eventually, when they were found out, I don't know how long they were doing it, but when they were found out, they would relabel the CNET, or Red Ventures rather, had to relabel those AI generated stories as CNET staff. And now it's coming to light, or coming out, that there's going to be 10%, around a dozen people are going to be laid off from CNET. Now, so to me, from the outside, it doesn't seem as though that the AI content strategy really has something to do with these layoffs. I mean, because if they were gonna lay people off, they would continue the content strat. Like they'd have been like, yeah, we're doing AI stuff. By the way, 12 people are getting in the can, if that's a thing that people say. In the can, getting in the can. And so. I mean, okay, so from reading this story, it seems as though the editor-in-chief, Connie Guillermo, is stepping down from her point and become the senior vice president of AI content strategy and editor at large. Okay, so she's stepping down from her role, and then she's going to become the senior vice president of AI content strategy. She's going to be replaced by Adam Auriemma, former editor-in-chief of another Red Ventures owned outlet, Next Advisor. Next Advisor appears to have shut down and hasn't tweeted since January, and its website now redirects to CNET. It will no longer appear on Red Ventures' list of brands. The layoffs began Thursday morning and were announced internally by email, blah, blah, blah. And so CNET was purchased from CBS by Red Ventures in 2020. Okay. To prepare ourselves for a strong future, we will need to focus on how we simply simplify our operations and our tech stack. I mean, I think these were going to happen regardless. We're in a period of layoffs, whether it be the entertainment industry, tech industry, or the business industry, and people are getting laid off, and this is added to it. This isn't going to stop the AI stuff. They're just going to continue it in a smarter direction. Under Red Ventures, former CNET employees say the venerated publications focus increasingly became winning Google searches by prioritizing SEO. So that means that SEO is essentially just saying like a fancy term for tags. Whenever a story is written, so let's say there's a story about Hydro Flask water bottles, and I want to prove I have a Hydro Flask. they're like it's blue and it holds all the water in the world, and it tapers at the bottom so it could fit into any cup holder, and it comes with a top, and you can change out the top, and so they'll have the SEO will work with all of that stuff to include blue and fits cup holders and stuff like that. I'm stupid. I don't know how SEO completely works. Every time I apply for a job, that's what they want. Are you a writer? Yeah, I'm a writer. Are you good with SEO? They're going to focus on consumer technology. Okay, so, I mean, whatever. The AI generated stories, the tool was put to rest in January, but it's going to come back again, and there's more that's going to come from this. So, I mean, I still don't think this is a 1-to-1 correlation, but it kind of seems like it had something to do with it, but I don't know if many people were in charge of it. Anyway, let's move on. AI is a part of the world now, and that's what we're going to have to deal with. This is the last story, and it comes from Tom Warren over at The Verge again. Sony might be forced to reveal how much it pays to keep games off of Xbox Game Pass. Now, Sony has been running an exclusivity deal thing, which essentially blocks games from appearing on other consoles, read Microsoft's Xbox Series, and it's been happening for quite some time. And then when Microsoft introduced Game Pass, they started having not exclusives, but ways to play games for free, like essentially for free. $15, $25 per month, and you get to play all these games on Game Pass as long as you have a subscription. And even though these games would be sold on Sony's platforms for $60, $70. Now we're at a point where Microsoft is trying to buy Activision Blizzard. They're trying to have an acquisition. The Federal Trade Commission is trying to sue to say that it's going to be a monopoly. It will be a monopoly, but Sony's, all this really doesn't matter in the end. It's just a bunch of crap. But Sony is now, because Sony's afraid that, games like Call of Duty, which they've had exclusivity rights for DLC, that's going to be a whole deal. Like they're going to, maybe Microsoft might withhold that stuff on their end, or maybe people will stop going to Sony's PlayStation consoles to play Call of Duty first as opposed to playing on Xbox, whatever. Okay, so Kotaku spotted that the FTC's chief administrative judge, D. Michael Chappell, has now sided with Microsoft's request for details of Sony's PlayStation exclusivity deals. Now, these deals were brought to light in a couple of years ago in 2019, which basically, the deals are Sony pays fees to these game makers, or game makers come to Sony because they have the biggest install base and such, and say like, hey, let's work on a deal so that that people won't go to Xbox to play these games, more or less. Here are Microsoft's latest claims summarized in the words of Judge Chappell. Microsoft argues that the complaint in this case makes a number of allegations regarding high-performance video game console developers' exclusivity arrangements with video game publishers. Microsoft states that it is aware that Sony Interactive Entertainment requires many third-party publishers to agree to exclusivity provisions, including preventing the publishers from putting their games on Xbox's multi-game subscription service. And that understanding the full extent of Sony Entertainment SIE's exclusivity arrangements and their effect on industry competitiveness will assist in its defense. Microsoft's been trying to do this, get these details for years, way back in 2012, but again, it was brought to light in 2019. The request was brought to light in 2019. It's the same thing as pointed out by Warren in this as Epic Games versus Apple, where Epic was asked by Apple, which they do this to everybody, and Google as well, to for a portion of the proceeds that of DLC and game stuff that is bought on Apple products or on Android products, and they get like 7% or 30% or something like that. And that's why you can only play Fortnite on Android when you sideload the app instead of downloading it directly from there, because they do that to everybody. And then it was disclosed that Apple was making a crap ton of money by doing this to other people. So now it is important that we try to understand, similar thing is how much Google or how much Apple pays Google to you for, how much Google pays Apple so that Google is the main search engine on Safari, on iPhones, on things like that. I mean, in the end, we're seeing that as much as a company says that they care about you, they truly don't. It's all about money. It's money. It's money to them. They don't care that you play the game. All they care is that when you choose to play the game, that the game is on their console. And Microsoft went the drastic way of saying, play it on Xbox. We will give you Game Pass, or you buy Game Pass, you can play it on Xbox for what you will see as free. Is that how we treat streaming platforms? Like if I load up Spotify and I go, I was never going to buy that live album from The Weeknd, but it is for free because I paid $10 this month to listen to it, which is not true. I paid $10 in December for 3 months, for 3 free months. I mean, is that how we see things? Is Apple Arcade, I pay $5 for that. I don't pay for that. But is that free to me because I paid $5 and hey, I can play the Samurai Jack game. I can play this Animation Domination racing game, which does exist. I can play what else? What else is on this? I don't pay for it, but I got it for free for 6 months and I had games downloaded. NBA 2K23, I could play Rayman Mini. There's exclusive games on there. Jetpack Joyride 2. The Animation Domination racing game. They don't care about you. They don't care. They're gonna make it seem like they care. They're gonna say, Sony's gonna say this Game Pass is anti-competitive. The Activision Blizzard is anti-competitive, and Microsoft can come back and say, hey, we're gonna put Call of Duty on every console, on Nintendo, on Steam, on whatever. In the end, it doesn't matter. They just want the money. They don't care about you. Hey, speaking of money, spend $0 by going to cpluscomedy.com to see me talk to your favorite comedians. I have one coming up next week. It's audio only, and it's pissing me off. I had to reiterate to the people. I was like, no, it has to be video. And they said, yeah, but audio works, right? And I was like, guys, please. So it's frustrating to hear, and frustrating to see, and frustrating to do. If you want to see a video version of this podcast, youtube.com/cpluscomedy. It's up now, more or less, more than likely. We also have other podcasts. LinkedIn Logs, which is the show where I try to become a LinkedIn influencer. This week's episode is, we took last week off because I took last week off of late night lately. This week's episode is cover letters. So I generate a cover letter using ChatGPT. It's a fun episode. Late Night Lately is the other podcast, and that is talking about the best of late night, which I'm going to be recording. Well, actually, I have to watch some things. I have to watch a couple of things so I can have an episode. I've got a skeleton down. Late Night Lately, the best of late night for the week. I guess I have to watch The Problem with Jon Stewart season premiere. Ugh. You want to see a video version of the shows, youtube.com/C+comedy. Social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, @C+comedy. Me on those, @ChadBlackWhite. Rate, review, subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your shows. Tell your friends about it, because there are things that you're going to want to hear, baby. Okay, let's go away. Goodbye.